Okay, 3 things up top. If you don't want to know anything about Avengers Infinity War, probably don't watch this review or any reviews, or look at social media, or speak to that guy from your work, just in case he's already seen it and you haven't. I mean, he probably hasn't, but you don't like him anyways, so this is just another reason to avoid him. Second thing is, if you do decide to stick around, this is a spoiler-free review, but I will be touching on very general story points, none of which should come as a surprise to you if you've seen the early trailers. And the third thing is, the images used in this won't always correlate with what I'm saying. So if I say a thing that applies to a certain character or location or whatever that I consider a minor spoiler, the image won't necessarily relate to that particular thing. Or maybe it will. Who knows? The fourth thing is, yeah, okay, there's 4 things. I just decided that. We're doing a full spoiler discussion this coming Monday on my podcast, The Weekly Planet. I'll link that below if you want to check it out, because there's a lot of stuff here, as I'm sure you've surmised, that I just can't say. Even small stuff that I'm just going to leave and come back to later. Now, I avoided all the reactions and whatnot going into this, but it is still hard to go into this movie without certain expectations. As the marketing keeps telling us, this has been a 10-year process and a lot of films, more than 15 I think, but less than 20. So this movie had the seemingly insurmountable task of acting as a follow-up to what's come before it, as well as balancing the screen time of dozens of characters, and that's not including the ones that are only introduced in this film. On the whole though, the Russo brothers have done an excellent job of bringing this whole thing together. This is a great Marvel film. Because for one, unlike the first Avengers, we're not just talking about characters, we're talking weird space locations, regular Earth locations, weird cosmic stuff, weird magic stuff. There is so much at play here, and this movie balances all that by jumping all over the place, but not in a confusing way. Mostly acting as a sequel to Civil War, Ragnarok, more Doctor Strange than I thought, and the Guardians films, with of course elements from the other films, which is quite remarkable considering the differences, both tonal and otherwise, between all these movies. The Avengers, the first one, did a really good job of bringing together a bunch of characters, but compared to Infinity War, mixing the handful of people we'd met at that point looks in hindsight like a walk in the park compared to what they had to deal with here. And everybody gets a moment too, whether that be a little fun joke, or an action beat, or an emotional, like a getting sad bit or whatever. Of course though, when you're dealing with this many characters, some of which don't get the screen time that you may like. I know for me, I felt that way about one character in particular. But it doesn't feel like that comes at the expense of something else. Whenever the movie pivots elsewhere, it doesn't feel like wasted time or padding. But like I said, if you wanted to see more of a certain character, then you might not be rapt that certain character isn't in it as much as you'd want them to be, or maybe they're not in it at all. Who's to say? Also, there's another one of these movies coming real soon, and apparently the people who didn't get a lot of play in this will get more play in that, but we just have to wait and see. Here's something I guess I can talk about. The characters that shine, they really shine. And for me, the standout was Thor. I felt like he got the most emotionally weighted moment, as well as some really great heroic stuff. Also, if you think the Marvel films lack stakes, well, this movie is all about countering that. There are real consequences to actions, and loss, and grief, all of that. That being said, like I said, this movie is really acting as part 1 of a sequel, coming this time next year, and I don't think this is a spoiler. Everything's probably gonna be fine in the end, and there's magic rocks that exist that can do anything. So I am left wondering in the back of my mind, how much of the changes to the universe will actually end up being permanent. And that brings me to Thanos. And to be honest, I don't think I got as much out of him as I would have liked. Not that this film doesn't go out of its way to explain his motivations and backstory in order for the audience to sympathize with him, or at the very least understand him, but a lot of that didn't really gel with me. Also, there's a bit of confusion, I guess, in terms of what kind of powers he possesses in himself and with the Infinity Stones. A lot of the time, he's just shooting a big laser out of his glove, but it feels like at points he's holding back for no reason from just killing everyone and everything, considering what he's sometimes capable of. I would also say this is not a film that caters to those unfamiliar with this universe. You can definitely get by on a passing knowledge of these characters, but there would be some thoroughly confusing moments if you're not familiar with certain previous goings on. That being said, this movie does reward you if you've been following all along, which I think is a great thing. If you're a fan of this series, you don't have to endure long drawn out recaps of who's who and whatnot. It's just straight into it. Now, I've literally just come out of this film, and I'll say this. This movie is a lot. There is a hell of a lot going on, so it's very difficult to give a spoiler-free, definitive response, and my opinion could very well change over time, which it sometimes does. But my immediate reaction is, this is a very impressive achievement that has some great action sequences, emotional moments, and high stakes, all of which resulting in a deeper investment in this series for me in terms of interest in these characters. Like I said though, more thoughts on my podcast, The Weekly Planet, but all in all, I thoroughly enjoyed this film, and it's quite remarkable what's been accomplished in the MCU as of so far. So I'd give this movie it's good. I liked it. But have you seen it? Have you seen Avengers Infinity War? And what do you think of it? Leave a comment if you want and subscribe because there's videos here every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday, including an upcoming Venom trailer breakdown video and an Avengers Infinity War Easter egg video. But thanks for watching this. I appreciate it. Take care.